Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, haters of all ages, let me be the first to welcome you to HBP Podcast Year 4! Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the program. My name is the immortal Yell Chaos. Joining me, as always, the import reviewer extraordinaire, the 10-foot Texan terror, Kid Shoryuken.
Hey there, everybody. Kampai, Ipai, Opai. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. Also, to the other side, the 8-bit tag team champion, the bullet belt messiah, the excellence of elocution, the relentless Razor Fist. Fabulous. And, of course, the Pennsylvania platform pulverizer himself, the mighty Alpha Omega Sin.
I wasn't actually expecting that as my introduction. I liked that quite a bit. It gave me a chub. But hi, everyone.
Well, then we'll hang on to it for future use. And in case you were wondering, the mystery partner was Johnny Walker. Welcome to our show. We got a great show for you today. A big show, a king-size show, as you come to expect every single time on this Pissing in the Live Stream number 6. I can't believe we've only done 6 of these. Seems like we've been here forever. Like I said, announcing year number 4 of the 8-bit Podcast. Hope to be a great big year, and we hope you stick with us through every little bit of it. We got a lot to talk about, so we're going to jump right in. Folks, I want to lead you in softly, gently, like we do every single time here on the 8-bit Podcast. You know, when we started this program way back in March of 2012, long time ago, we sat and we laughed and we contrived and we snorted and chortled at all the failings of the video game industry as we knew it, with one developer and one publisher going out of business, and we laughed. And now it seems, years later, that I feel we're standing along the side of the road just watching the buffalo go extinct. It's kind of a sad state of affairs, which is why we're about to talk about something that you fine folks said we should talk about, the untimely passing of EA's own Maxis Studios. And known for such venerable hits as SimCity, not the most recent one, I know. And they also did the Sim Ant, Sim Earth, did a lot of great things, but there seems to be a little bit of confusion about the fate of Maxis. Alpha Omega Sin, you argued with me, and you said that, no, they are in fact not closing up shop. What is the story with EA's Maxis?
Okay, so one of the questions I've been trying to ask and figure out, just due to conflicting stories because journalists can't ever get their shit together, but Maxis is supposed to be shutting up shop and then be consolidated into another company, apparently, or they're just going to have divisions moved about all over the place within Electronic Arts, and nobody can give a straight answer, not even Electronic Arts themselves, but yeah.
Are you sure Electronic Arts not giving a straight answer? That doesn't sound like something they would have.
I know, that's it. That's like, you know, one of those Blue Moon type scenarios. It's like, pshaw, come now. Clearly you're mistaken, and I very well could be. But no, I hope that they're around. I mean, it's Maxis. They're a big part of gaming in general. And I don't know why. This seems real random for them to just go and get rid of Maxis out of nowhere, considering that they've been one of the most consistent development studios out of Electronic Arts, unless they're hurting for money and not telling anyone.
Well, I think that's something that's important to point out, and what a lot of people have pointed out in the comment sections of every goddamn website, at least the websites that are still left in the video game industry. A lot of people discussing the very, I won't even call it tepid, but very negative reaction to the most recent installation in the, or installment in the SimCity franchise, and EA having a bit of a reputation of immediately shuttering studios that are underperforming. And if I'm not mistaken, and tell me if I'm crazy, but it seems like it was the EA's own forced inclusion of online features that really hamstring SimCity. Isn't that true, Mr. Fist?
Yeah, I don't know. That's the thing. Maxis has been a shadow of its former self for many moons.
Many.
That's the thing about a lot of these companies that are going out of business. I mean, let's be real. Like, even Pandemic, when EA shuttered them in untimely fashion, it wasn't all that untimely. They were towards the end of Saboteur in development, I believe, which was a fucking shame because they ended with a bang. But they had just finished all that, but apparently a lot of their staff had moved on. I know a lot of them had already moved to BioWare Austin. Rest in peace for those guys. But I don't know. It seems like before these studios shutter, they wind up being a shell of their former selves, which you would think would mean Rare is going to go out of business soon, but you would be fucking mistaken.
And Rare apparently is supposed to be doing something, finally, again, which
You're
is
kidding. They're
amazing.
going to do something as opposed to sitting around and bitching about how Nintendo fucked them over?
Well, the little rumor mill has been saying that we're supposed to be getting, what the hell was it? I believe another Banjo-Kazooie game that didn't have to do with Banjo-Kazooie nuts and bolts. And then there was supposed to be a new IP that was created, and then we do have the whole Killer Instinct thing. But did Rare actually create that?
I'm actually unclear. I wish I had the records in front of me. I don't know.
But I don't know. I'd like to see Rare do some stuff. And then when you brought up the Saboteur, they did go out with a bang. The sad part about them going out with a bang was nobody bought the fucking game, and it was amazing.
Yep, absolutely not.
Sucks.
As utter dog shit, and that's a game where even though EA published, Pandemic's out of business, fine. What responsibility does the publisher have in keeping a game going out, like as far as hosting content? Like, because I went and played the Saboteur recently, and you can't download any of the DLC. Nothing is up for it anymore. Even though you would think, okay, sure, Pandemic went out of business in 2009 or whatever the fuck that happened, but isn't it still their responsibility to? It seems like they would have some sort of obligation in that regard to actually keep some of that content up. You know, like the titty content. What the fuck is it called? Whatever.
I know what you're talking about.
The Jiggling Titties pack is what I'm going to call it.
Oh, by the way, everybody is saying that there's a shit ton of echo, and
I think it's
saying that my voice is very fucking low. So here's a question to everybody: is there echo when I talk? Because we've been trying to figure out if the echo's happening because of me. Because holy fuck, have I been trying to fix this for like an hour now?
Another AAA production from 8-Bit Entertainment, let me tell you.
Well, I'd seen it, and I was like, well, that's a lot of fucking comments with the word echo showing up, a whole bunch. Except for, unfortunately, there's a big fucking delay in the comments to when we get them, so I'm just sitting here twiddling my thumbs, just waiting. Let's see, now there should be comments responding to them.
Well, they'll have it up for us any time now. But while we're talking about the untimely passing of Maxis, now different people will have different slants on this next topic. But we are also mourning the loss of one of many losses in the realm of journalism in terms of video games. Joystick.com, joystick with a Q, have met their passing. I understand a property of Time Warner, who of course always know how to manage their brands. This is a bit disconcerting in not only the fact that they are just one of many, but a bigger name than you would expect to see that there's not enough reason for them to continue coverage, which further, I think, fuels my assumption that a lot of the video game coverage in the last few years has been very much fueled by speculation and was overall kind of a big bubble. I don't think I'm alone in that assumption. Kid Shoryuken, I know you don't follow the news as much as, well, you probably have to follow it more than I do because I try not to because it's sickening, but what do you think?
I think the fact that, as you stated, so many of these gaming news sites are going under, or at least on the verge of going under, is representative of a lot of people out there, I think, kind of like me, that don't really put a lot of stock in brands, things to that effect. When you can usually just turn on YouTube, if you want to hear a review of a game, you can actually just look in your sub box and listen to a person's opinion that you actually value. And typically, if you want news on the development of a game, developers and publishers are posting that anyway, so you can kind of just look at it and draw your own conclusions. I personally don't feel the need to visit any of these sites, and I don't. And I have the feeling that a lot of people feel the way I do. It's not valued anymore.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Look, the time of traditional gaming journalism has pretty much passed, honestly. I think things, alternative media like YouTube or the like, or whatever, and I recorded a video on this topic before, actually. I think you have to be careful, just as careful, arguably, if not more careful, with YouTube as with any of these traditional gaming sites. But I think some of the corruption has turned people off. I think the years and years of inflated review scores. Look, people, not everybody's fucking Einstein, but people can put 2 and 2 together when Resident Evil 5 is pulling in a 9.75 on fucking GameFailers.com. You know what I mean? Like, nobody's under any delusions that that's the score that game deserved. So I think you can only kind of hustle people for so long before they realize, oh shit, it's a shell game and there's no fucking P under any shell.
Well, not only that, it's almost as if they're following in the tradition of Fox News, and people have figured out that brand names have a certain allegiance to a certain amount of, shall we say, backers, and when the backers are publishers who are, claiming that they are very much in favor of a journalistic approach to game review, that's clearly not true, and you can only go to the well so often before you realize that it is in fact poisoned.
Hey, you guys keep talking. I'm going to get headphones because I feel bad that there's echo going on. We can do whatever we want because it's live, so fuck it. It doesn't really matter.
Fuck it, we'll do it live.
Well, fuck it doesn't really matter. I'm pretty sure you three can do all sorts of wacky shit and all that. I know I have headphones around somewhere. Like I said, I bought like 1 million pairs, so I'll be right back.
Mute your microphone.
We're so glad you got prepared before the program. Thank you very much, Admiral Omega Sim.
Damn straight, I got prepared. Here, I'm going to mute the mic. I'll be back. Everybody can just look at my wall. Yeah, that'll be fun and part of my kitchen.
All right. Well, anyway, while Admiral Omegason figures out his audio situation, it's time for talk. Mr. Fist, you're still here. So, and while Kid Shoryuken's off getting himself some liquid sustenance, we talked about this right before the program. Apparently, Rock Band, I don't know what you call that style. I guess they're rhythm games, specialty controller rhythm games. Rock Band 4 making, or at least announced for release on the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4. I, for one, feel that there's no way that the Goodwills in my area could handle another wave of Rock Band. But that's really funny if you go to the Goodwills. But, Mr. Fist, what do you make of this?
Yeah, that's the thing. I think, honestly, it's bizarre to wake up one day and realize, holy shit, Rock Band's back, because it's like going back in a time machine to 2010. Like, they have been gone for a while, dude. Like, seriously, like that is one trend that they milked bone-ass dry, and they didn't leave a
very much like that of Hulkamania.
There was nothing left of that fucking rhythm music trend by the time that was, and pretty much everybody knew what was gonna happen as soon as it was like Guitar Hero Aerosmith and Guitar Hero Metallica. It was like, oh, okay, so you're planning on milking this until it's outright deceased within a year. That's pretty much your plan here. And that's basically what fucking happened. I mean, it's done.
I refuse to believe that it was a plan at all. Guitar Hero, for those who don't know, for those the uninitiated, there's a lot of young folks in our audience who aren't aware that way back when, in your arcades, if you can remember what an arcade was, Konami brought us Guitar Freaks way back in the late 1990s. Guitar Hero didn't seem to come along, and they didn't really master the technology for home use until, I want to say, like 2005, 2006. But they clearly didn't have a plan. If they were to have a plan, that's to say that Icy had a plan to do what Slurpee was doing. That's really the only way I could, really make that clear. Now, I'm not going to sit here and lie. I did get involved in the Guitar Hero thing for a brief spell, and now I don't. This reminds me, as I made a bit of a shot at Hulkamania just a second ago. This seems kind of like another coming of Rock Band when they haven't been away long enough really garner the nostalgia that, and this it's too soon, I think. Now, Kid Shoryuken, you've been kind of quiet about this. What do you think?
About Rock Band?
Yeah, isn't it awful?
That shit. Eventually, it's like old exercise equipment. He's got to get rid of that.
It really is. It totally. Those plastic instruments were effectively they were the Thigh Master.
I was saying the Thigh Master of
between 2008 and 2012. Like that's exactly what they were. They're like an artifact from a forgotten era.
Whereas the Rock Band controllers, being more expensive, were more like the Nordic track of their time.
Look, I do think there's a market for rhythm games. I think if they can market it effectively, maybe people would jump on. But the one thing I worry about is I don't think the carousel has come back around yet. I don't think we're quite to that point yet. I think you need to give it another few years, and Alpha's back.
Hi. So is there echo still? For the love of fucking God!
No, and how are things in headphone land?
Really shitty. So I'm tethered to my desktop, which is right there. I feel like I'm a news anchor right now, and I'm like, wait a minute, this just in. Alpha Mega Sin just got done doing a fucking triathlon, trying to go and find his headphones, which were miraculously sitting right the fuck behind him in a fucking crate. So yeah, we have that.
So much for an organized collection, eh?
Yeah, well, no, the game collection is organized like a motherfucker. Everything else I own, on the other hand, is just a big fucking messy disarray, whatever the hell you want to call it.
I feel with how organized your gaming shelf is, I feel like Alpha would be a really excellent Nazi.
Oh, not just a great Nazi, the best Nazi.
Speaking of Nazis, we were talking about Electronic Arts and a bunch of other shit. We're talking about Rock Band and Guitar Hero and all that other jazz, right?
We're talking about the next coming of Rock Band 4, apparently, for the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4. And I first heard the rumblings about this only a few weeks ago, and now I understand that the Harmonix, the people behind Guitar Hero have claimed, and Harmonix have claimed that this will be out by holiday. And that's if that doesn't sound rushed, I don't know what does. That seems really quickly for this to be coming out, or they could have been working on it all that time.
Dude, they probably already had one built up, and they realized, oh shit, it's a sinking ship, and all they did was salvage that, and then carry it over, add some bells and whistles to it, just because, you know, they had the extra time to, maybe, or they're just chopping up as DLC for later on, and there you go, new product for a new generation.
Are you asserting that it's in fact the Atari 7800 of its time?
Dude, Atari 7800's some badass shit. It's not a 5200, because that thing's a giant fucking closet that can catch your entire house on fire, all the while giving you a fucking controller that doesn't work for shit. Oh god, what's worse, the Atari 5200 controller or the Atari Jaguar controller?
The Atari 5200 controller. The Jaguar, at least, even though it doesn't really work, it doesn't fall apart either.
It should. I wish I could look at it.
Here we go.
Yeah, dude, it's fucking terrible. Oh man, every time I ever even went near one of those, God, what other first-party controllers are really terrible? The Ouya, I fucking hated that controller too. Every time I touched it just. Ugh. I'm glad that you can tether good controllers to it, or else that thing would be even.
I hate. I've talked about it a little bit on my show, but I fucking hate the PS4 controller. The fucking touch. Okay, the touchpad. I've used it twice. I've played like 10 or so games. Granted, I haven't played a bunch of games, but I've played 10 or so. You would think the touchpad would have been implemented at some point. And when it is implemented, like if you play Thief 4, for example, like if I could recommend one thing to people who are gonna waste money on Thief, go ahead and get the 360 and PS3 version, because the loading times are shorter, and you don't have to use the stupid gimmicky PS4 touchpad. Just don't fucking bother with it.
The touchpad and the battery are the only two things about the controller I don't like at all.
And the Christmas light. I hate the Christmas light. Why did you... And that's why the battery runs out, is because you got this fucking flashlight on your controller that you can never shut off. Like, what the...
I've always wondered about that, because I'm like, well, I understand it if you have the camera plugged in, and this thing is supposed to, you know, take the spot of the Move controller, which nobody fucking owns, except for me, because I'm masochistic.
Yeah.
And I understand it for that, but whenever you're just playing, I don't know, any other fucking game in the world, why is it on? Like, there's no fucking sense behind it. It's just bright light, bright light.
They strike me as artifacts from when the motion controllers were still good. Like, 'cause you got to remember, like, they were developing the PS4 for years. Probably some of these design elements of the controller were from 2012 or whenever, like whenever Kinect was burning up the sales charts for the 5 minutes that was relevant.
I was gonna say, when you say burning up the charts, that's like rubbing two fucking sticks together on a wet log. It was not burning.
Dude, no. That's the thing. People forget about the Kinect. Initially, Kinect was hugely successful, and then it was like, oh, wait a minute. Now I see what's going on here. They're just never gonna make games for this piece of shit. Okay, right on. That's cool. It could just sit in the corner of my room and stare at me and send my data to the NSA. That's fine.
It always just it creeped me out, but I will admit to one thing. I wanted to Connect badly for one reason, and that was for the game Rise of Nightmares, which is not a good game, but because it's a very bad horror game, I was like, I have to have this now. Clearly, the Connect is important suddenly.
What is this, the second coming of Deadly Premonition?
It doesn't have quite the charm of that. This is more like bad voice acting Resident Evil type shit, and then a control scheme that's so fucking wonky because it's like, do these motions and these actions to go and proceed forward in your adventure. Meanwhile, all you're doing is looking like a fucking paraplegic asshole in the middle of an earthquake, and it doesn't know. It's one of those flawed games you still have fun with.
Oh wait, I forgot about the other thing I hate about the PS4. The fucking speaker on the front of it. So irritating. It's not high quality, because it's like, okay, like Shadow of Mordor is a really good example. You'll be in the loading screen, and like on the loading screens in that game, if you're playing like the 360 or the PS3 version, you'll hear little quotes that are all ethereal from the main character's past, from Troy Baker deciding how to be a more generic white guy, I guess. And so, like, fucking, it'll just be people talking and whatever. And on the PS4 version, that shit comes through the speakers, too. So you're hearing it out of your TV, and you're hearing it on your controller, and it's like somebody is pressing a fucking cell phone against your ear, like a really shitty cell phone speaker, and is, like, playing the same song that you're listening to.
I never liked the
so
idea
distracting.
Like, when they put a speaker on the Wii remote, I had a problem with that, because I thought it was pointless. Just take it the fuck off of there and let me just have more buttons. That'd be fantastic. But when they add on the PlayStation 4 controller, luckily not a ton of games go and like force the entire thing. But I'd rather them go and take the touchpad off, take the speaker off, take the fucking light off, and then I want you to get rid of the share button. The share button should actually be within the fucking PlayStation menu. It does not need its own designated button on the front of the fucking controller. And then I want select back. Select should be on the fucking controller, but it's not. They have the share button.
They replace select 9 times out of 10. They replace select with the stupid touchpad.
Yeah,
so you're constantly pushing. And that is so easy to fuck, because it's this giant button that takes up like a third of the screen, and like I'm playing Dragon Age Origins, or Dragon Age Inquisition rather, and I'm constantly like awkwardly like I'll be reaching for the start button, which is the size of like an electron, by the way. The start button is like this small, and it's right next to this button the size of New Hampshire. And I'm like, okay, if I'm constantly fumbling for the pause and accidentally going to the character menu or whatever I forget. No. It does the tactical menu when you hit the fucking touchpad on Inquisition. But it's irritating.
The main time that I got fucked up with the touchpad on there was with Killzone. So I was like, okay, I'll go and get Killzone, because I enjoyed Killzone 3. I was like, hey, this is, like, Killzone 2 and 3 were pretty fucking decent. 1, I didn't really like. This one, I did not like. And one of the things that they put into it was you had to use the touchpad and slide up, down, left, or right for some of the different actions on there for different items and shit, and that fucked my head up. I was like, dude, just please map this to a button. A motherfucking button. that I can reach my stupid fingers to. But it just, I don't know. Or we could get the Duke controller, since we have the big Xbox emblem, and make that one big touchpad. At least that thing could be more than just like a fucking rapper's medallion dangling in front of your chest. But
I never understood that. Like, what is that? Like a Jiffy popper? Like right in the middle of the controller? Like, it doesn't do anything. It's not a button. It's just a gigantic Xbox logo with like a popcorn popper lid on top.
It's a
random just plastic thing on top.
Dude, it's a fucking billboard surrounded by buttons and fucking analog sticks. That's what it is. Like, do you know what you're playing? The fucking Xbox!
I know, it's like a third of the controller easily, and it does nothing.
It's very similar to the big, the big logo on the front of the BMW to remind you that you're being run over by a BMW.
Unfortunately. I'm sorry, we sidetracked everything with talking about controllers. Rah!
Well, we did, and there was a lot of talk in the comment section, and, the comment section, like every single time we're here, just seems to take on a life of its own, and I tell you, a lot of people were bitching and complaining about the Philips CDI controller.
Oh my god, they're so bad. All of them are bad, not even just one.
That's the
they're all
bad part, is like, you just described many controllers, and they were all, and I have to give this to Philips, I can't take this away from them, all uniformly bad.
Dude, okay, I'll say this. Out of all the controllers, there is one that stands alone amongst the rest of the other shit controllers, and that's that one that's shaped like a spoon or a ladle or some shit. For some reason, they have what I consider what you have to look out for when buying a used Nintendo 64 controller, floppy analog stick syndrome, where the shit is just flaccid as fuck, and you're suddenly, come on, I'm doing everything right, I'm cupping the balls and everything. Nope, that motherfucker, it will not stay like this. It's this. It was fucking terrible. They have the buttons, like they have 4 buttons that are like pill-shaped surrounding it and shit. It's the worst fucking design in the entire world. They ought to be castrated.
Speaking of floppy analog sticks, believe it or not, I'm not going with the penis joke here. Anybody else try buying a used Nintendo 64 controller recently?
Oh.
Yeah. Dude,
oh my god, what is with that analog stick? Like, can you find one that doesn't have like a fucking joystick that is in dire need of Viagra?
Dude, no fucking joke. When I went to Portland, I was trying to go and help my friend Melissa go and buy Nintendo 64 controllers. So I'm teaching her the rules of the fucking trade. I'm like, okay, when you buy Nintendo 64 controllers, you don't just buy any single one. You only buy first party unless you can get those nice Hori controllers. Those ones are badass.
Those ones are quite badass. I can't argue with that.
Hori's fucking awesome. When it comes to third party, they're a company I trust 100%. But the analog sticks, and I'll single-handedly fucking look Mario Party dead in the eye and be like, you son of a bitch, you are one of the main causes for analog sticks, just because people would be doing this while putting fucking Jesus Christ holes through their fucking palm, and they're like, what happened? And it's like, well, you played too much because you had to keep doing this, and that's when Nintendo had put out those, God, what the fuck was it? It was like little things that you, like, glove palm protector things so you could play the game. They would actually send those out if you requested them, but I blame that for why all the analog sticks now are just busted fucks. All of them.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I mean, I think, and when they have to send you a condom for your hand, I think that's a dead giveaway that something was wrong with that design.
If anything, we could start recycling the Wii remote condoms and just, like, put holes through them, stick your mitts through them all the way, and be like, yeah, look at that. And you'd be good.
Them body gloves got to make something that can do that. If it exists, there's a goddamn peripheral for it. I know that. Now, Kid Shoryuken, while we're talking about this, I want to, because you've been sitting there, and I see you're drinking. You're drinking. That's okay, because I'm drinking too.
What if I am?
But now you know a lot about the Japanese side of the game. The only one of us who actually spent time living in Japan. What's one of the worst controllers that you've come across? Because you are quite the import fanatic. Tell me about this.
Oh god, the worst controller ever. I think Bill was onto something with those Philips CDI kind of like weird TV remote controllers. I think someone at Philips just got advance notice that they were getting fired. And they were working in the controller department.
I'll show you the worst controller ever, alright? And this goes for any model on any console ever. Any controller at all with this logo right here in the middle of it. That right there. It's like the reverse of the Nintendo seal of quality.
And to remind you that the 8-Bit Podcast is in no way affiliated with GameStop Incorporated.
No, because if that was the case, our stock would be plummeting. But I don't know, I would say another really bad controller, which had mentioned earlier, is the Atari Jaguar controller. When it comes to first-party controllers, that is, it's one of the worst things I have ever had the unfortunate circumstance of picking up and trying my best to play. And it's not like there's third-party options to better your situation. Nobody gave a fuck about making anything for the system.
Speaking of third-party controllers, anybody else make the mistake during the Super Nintendo era, as an arcade, fighting game fanatic, of picking up the Advantix joystick for the Super Nintendo?
Was it the one that looked like a Super Nintendo? With like the actual
size of a Super Nintendo, yes.
I remember that thing. I personally never got to try it. I'd only seen it, and it looked uncomfortable as shit, especially since I got to be, I got to sit down with actual arcades, and then Sega Genesis, they had good arcades.
Dude, at the face of it, it looks like an arcade controller. It quacks like an arcade controller. It's got the turbo switches on it, and you think, oh, you're gold here, and I think there's even programmable buttons on it, and then you actually use it, and you realize that, okay, let's say I'm cutting out the mold for this thing. I'm cutting the holes where the buttons are supposed to go. I've left, an atom of clearance between the button and the sort of mold itself. So basically the buttons stick. Basically if you do anything, if you move them off to the side, so you're constantly hitting these buttons and they're not actually registering because they're not moving down because they've basically fused on the subatomic level, essentially. It's just one giant block of plastic and none of the buttons work.
So anytime that you actually successfully press the button down, plastic shavings start popping up at you like it's a fucking popcorn popper. That's always good to know. That's one hell of an experience. That's the kind of arcade board that you want to be in front of and then see everybody simultaneously pick it up and then throw the fucking thing as if they're like, we're gonna go and start a riot right now with this. Fuck that experience. That'd be horrible.
Indeed. But I tell you what, though, speaking of, and I don't want to, tear this away, but we got a good conversation going. It's always nice to have a good conversation right here on the 8-Bit Podcast. But speaking of plummeting stock price, I want to talk about something that's very important, and a lot of people have wanted me to address this. One of the 8-Bit Podcasts who addressed this for quite some time. Where are all these fucking VR goggles coming from? Every company that I've ever heard of has decided that they want to put a pair of scuba goggles on everybody so they can watch television. We have the Valve HTC Vive, the Sony Morpheus, the Facebook Oculus Rift, and the HoloLens by Microsoft, which I understand the one of the main designers behind HoloLens passed away recently. Is that right, Alpha Omega Sin?
Yeah, I was gonna do a video talking about it.
He was killed by Vegeta, I think.
he ended up getting into some kind of car accident, and it's kind of fucked considering that I actually think the HoloLens looks cool from a non-gaming standpoint. That's all the different things they could do with it, and then naturally I want horror games and stuff. But yeah, he ended up passing away, and that kind of sucks because he didn't even get to see his product out on store shelves and all that shit. It's kind of like the dude who designed the Game Boy. He died before the Wonder Swan got to go out on the store shelves, and he designed that, so it's just kind of shitty.
Oh, you mean Gunpei Yokoi?
Yeah, and I thought that was kind of sucky because I mean he made the Game Boy, the Virtual Boy. You're welcome. The Game Boy Pocket, and
the Game & Watch.
Wait, did he design the original Game & Watch?
Or he did. He's the one that took the calculator technology and gave us Game & Watch.
Oh, fuck. Yeah, no, you are 100. Damn, I actually forgot about that. Fuck me. Well, yeah, okay, so he gave us Game & Watch, and that also means they gave us the damn D-pad. Long live the D-pad. 2D fighters will understand. But, yeah, that's, I don't know, it kind of sucks that the dude ended up passing away. I just think that's always sad whenever you work your ass off on something and then you don't even get to see it happen. But yeah, anyway, yeah, HoloLens. Whoa.
Yeah, but with that having been said, and speaking of Gunpei Yokoi, who gave us the Virtual Boy back in 1993, he warned us. He told us and he showed us with the marketing of this product. This is the wrong idea, and this is not. See, well, I don't know why I'm talking like Satoru Iwata right now, directly to you. He warned us. He told us that, at least by looking at the way that product fared in the market, that this is a completely useless concept. And I don't want to shit all over somebody's product, but I'm going to. This is really. It just seems like we're at a saturation point, because I remember when the idea of the Oculus Rift came, and they showed us first-person Legend of Zelda, and I said, "Oh, great! It looks like Minecraft. What else do you have?" And then before you knew it, we had the Morpheus. Now, Mr. Fist, you've been very vocal on this over the last couple of years. Am I crazy in thinking that we reached saturation a long time ago?
It's crazy because most of these devices haven't even come out yet, and I feel like we're already at a saturation point. Like the concept pretty is amazing. Saturated. Well, yeah, we've literally gotten to the point, folks, where the pre-order craze has reached such a fever pitch that we are now pre-ordering market saturation. That's what's going on here. But no, I feel like it kind of mirrors what happened last generation, actually, with motion control, if you really think about it. Nintendo comes out with whatever, although Nintendo really hasn't expressed much of an interest in VR, and they've got their own problems to deal with right now, so that's probably for the best. They should be focusing on games. But, I mean, you've got kind of three different companies. In this case, the role of Nintendo will be played by Facebook. I never thought I'd be saying that. But so they kind of come out with their Oculus Rift, and that's what gets everybody talking. And then everybody else is kind of like, ooh, me too, me too, me too. Sony does the safe thing and basically just clones the other device, just like they did with Move. And Microsoft, meanwhile, does something that is essentially the same idea, but just looks slightly different, basically. So that's basically where we're at.
A traditional move, if I've ever seen one.
Yeah. It's essentially a copy-paste job of what happened with the motion controls.
The thing that's going to be more interesting about this to actually sit back and watch from a consumer standpoint, really, is with motion controls. A lot of the motion controls started with Nintendo. Nintendo came out and was like, bam, here's the Wii remote. And then everybody else was like, holy shit. And then there was that bandwagon. Whereas everybody had announced all these VR headsets months and years in advance. So now everybody's making these at the same time. They're all going to be premiering and coming out at the same time. And you're going to have a saturated market on day one. And that's really strange to think about, because usually you have somebody come out with the device or whatever it's going to be, the product, and then something will eventually become the industry standard. When everything hits at the same time, it's hard to say whether or not there's going to be something as the industry standard, because now everybody who might be interested in that kind of product is going to be looking at, Chaos, 5 different products?
Yeah. 4 from what I can tell, and never mind one coming from a partnership between Valve and HTC. HTC, who thought it was a real smart idea to license the likeness of Robert Downey Jr. for over $1 billion. So you can do your own math on that, but that would definitely be a gauge of their business acumen.
That made me power frown. I was all like, But I don't know, it is going to be a whole lot. My thing is, I try to think positively about some of the cool aspects of it, and I've seen some demos, I've seen on-hands reports from people, and some of the stuff does sound really cool. I've gotten to see the Oculus Rift in person. You know, when they build things designed around them, it's a really cool concept. What I feel like is going to happen is there's going to be people who are taking pre-existing products and then adapting them to it lazily.
That's absolutely what's going to happen here. I mean, let's be real. If it takes off, that's what we're going to be seeing. Because look at the way video games are made now. I mean, if it is conceivably possible for a company to expend less effort and spend less money, they're going to do it. And that's fine. I mean, that's capitalism at its finest. But at the end of the day, it's going to get to a comical level where it's just, okay, yeah, let's do the Oculus thing. And there will be kind of the Oculus Rift equivalent of Waggle. You mark my fucking words. There'll be something that barely requires any brain power and really doesn't exploit the virtues and strengths of a virtual reality headset, and it'll be a feature that will be essentially akin to Waggle, and every single fucking game is going to integrate that, just like they did with motion control, where it's like, hey, look, the player can actually interact with a video game in a tactile sense for the first time in their lives. I know, have them wave a fucking wand back and forth a bunch. Have them pretend they're fucking jerking off.
Well,
I have a feeling it would actually be exponentially worse, because could you imagine the awkward situation you're going to have to explain to your doctor how you got whiplash without leaving your house? That's something to consider. What were you saying, Mr. Omegason?
Oh, I was just saying that there is one major benefit to it, and that's if everything tanks, Pornhub can go and buy the rights to all the technology, then go and recoup the cost of it, resell everything with a bunch of virtual reality and all HoloLens type porn, and there you go. You put that out there, couple some fucking fleshlights with everything, and a lot of people won't see the light of day for a long time.
and then we'll all be living in strange days, and Jennifer Lewis, for some reason, will have a career.
I could honestly see the entire fucking downtown area of my city being fucking empty, with the exception of just a couple homeless people being like, But they'll just go to the library and try it out, so I guess that'll be good.
Yeah.
So there's that. In fact, a lot of people bring into my attention talking about all these VR headsets, and this is something, and I've seen them. These machines look like they're going to be quite expensive, which means that demo models that sit on the floor at your Walmart, at your Target, at your Fry's Electronics, you're not going to see that. This is high-end technology. Who's going to buy this when people can't get their hands on it?
Dude, the last fucking thing that I want to do is strap anything to my face that's a demo unit at Walmart.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, apparently you've never played, what is that, Machine Gunner, the thing where you stick your face onto the thing in the arcade.
Yeah, you'll get something, man. Don't you dare strap anything onto your face at Walmart. You'll wind up with some Burmese exotic strain of AIDS or something. There's no fucking way.
It can smell like welfare and bourbon both at the same time. That'd be great.
Well, with all that having been said, and what your feelings about bourbon and so forth, we invite you to drop us questions now down in the section provided. We know you've been doing it for quite a little while there, and you've been doing a fantastic job. So while we take some time to get a hold of the questions down there, I want to remind each and every one of you to take a look at the section down below my face. I want you to look at all those links down there where you can find all the social media interaction for myself, Kid Shoryuken, Razor Fist, and the mighty Alpha Omega Sin. All the information to find us on your Twitter, on your Facebook, and give us a sub over there on the YouTube. And don't forget, if you're not a subscriber to the HBP Podcast, please check us out. And also, don't forget to follow us on Facebook, because the fucking sub box doesn't work. Google has lied to each and every one of you, but that's all right, because here we are doing what we do and doing it best. Now, we've been getting a lot of questions now, and I want to answer this because 100,000 people have asked our thoughts on Five Nights at Freddy's, or whatever the hell that is. I don't know what it is. Alpha Omega Sin, you're shaking your head.
That's right.
Tell the people you're feeling.
Fuck Five Nights at Freddy's. Fuck everything about the game, because it's not a fucking horror game. You want to know what it is? It's a fucking interactive screensaver that does little to nothing. Like, I'm so fucking sick of seeing the game already, and I know that everybody has told me, but the lore behind it, Alpha, the lore. Look, I'm not playing the game for lore. I can buy a book. That'll give me all the lore that I need. I'll buy some fucking.
Hey, if we want to get all our story through an options menu, we could just play Final Fantasy 13.
Oh.
Oh man, you know what? That'd be a big debate. What do you want to play more, Five Nights at Freddy's or Final Fantasy 13? The answer is I'd rather masturbate. Much more productive.
I'll be vigorously punched in the cock by a diseased gorilla for 9,000, Alex.
I don't know. Have you guys actually played the game? Because I've played it a couple times and I don't dig it. It's not my thing. I'm alone here.
I'll tell you what, I think we could use a few more YouTube videos of attractive women freaking out at it. I think we could use just a few thousand more of those, huh?
Dude, that's the thing. Everywhere that I go, essentially, it's taken over as being, you know, the YouTube sensation and shit. And don't fucking anybody out there think, you just hate it because it's getting popular. Hipster Omega... No, the fuck... No. I actually gave the game an honest-to-goodness shot because I like horror games, right? That makes tons of sense. I played it, and there was nothing to it. There's literally nothing to it. It's bland and fucking boring. When I see this being played, and nobody's playing Haunting Ground, or Fatal Frame, or Clock Tower, I wonder where the fuck everything went wrong. Oh, nobody wants to play Deadly Premonition, but they'll play fucking Screensaver at Freddy's. Let's do that.
Yeah,
what the fuck? Like, I just don't fucking get that. It actually breaks my heart because they're... Okay, go pick up a DS. Play the Dementium games. They're pretty fucking badass. Does anybody want to play the Suffering 1 or 2? Oh, you don't? Because you're playing Five Nights at Freddy's? Well, by all fucking means, just continue doing that. It just... Fuck, man. It's... Ugh.
Oh, are you sure? You sure you don't want to play one of the Slender games and walk around aimlessly and wait for something to pop on screen? No?
I would rather play the Slender games a million times. I'd rather the Slender games be the only games that I can play for the rest of my God-given fucking life than play Five Nights at Freddy's and be like, this is a great experience, because it's just not. And I'm not knocking anybody that plays it. Like, I'm saying everybody who plays it's a fucking idiot. No.
That's okay. I'll knock everybody that plays it. That's fine.
Razor Fist will fucking go and take up that spot. Good cop, bad cop. But I don't fucking get it. Like, I do. I've got so many horror games out the fucking wazoo. Like, did anybody play Obscure 1 and 2? No. Did everybody play Five Nights at Freddy's? Yeah. And... So after I'm done having a fucking aneurysm, so yeah, Five Nights at Freddy's. I give it a 2 out of 10. Not enough water. There we go. There. Bam. Boom. Straight to the moon.
Not enough water.
There you go. To the moon. I was... a lot of folks now.
Wait. Hold on. Oh, Chaos. Hold on. Somebody said, "Gee, stop cussing. Suck my fat fucking Irish dick. I will fuck your grandparents to death. Eat my fucking asshole as a fucking salad." I mean, oh, I'm sorry. I'll try to keep the vulgarity down.
I would imagine that's like a salad at Applebee's, right?
How did you know that is where it's presented? They're like face down, ass up on a table. There we go, centerpiece.
There you go. A lot of people were talking about in the comment section about something that was a bit of controversy in the last few weeks. The Order 1886 for PlayStation 4, I believe. And oh, look at Razorfist making that face that he does. Now, I addressed this on Monday Night Chaos. Also, don't forget to check out Monday Night Chaos on my channel. You can find a link down there. Each and every week, Monday Night Chaos.
Click the link. It's live. Do it.
What's that?
I was telling people they have to click the link on Mondays. It's live. Do it live. Do it.
Live every single week on Monday Night Chaos. But a lot of people talking about what are our feelings. Now, I haven't played the Order 1886 yet. Razorfist, you've got a PlayStation 4, and I know Alpha Omegazin has one as well. Did you get a hold of this thing yet?
Yeah, press X to disappoint. What a fucking piece of shit. That is a classic example of there is no doubt in my mind that when the first information about this game materialized, they started with a cutscene and then built a game around it. There's no question in my mind. Somebody made a cool steampunky looking cutscene, and then Sony was like, we'll take a game of that. And so they did it. There's no question. Absolutely none. And like, the length controversy, I'm more of shit is shit. Like, it's more. You're asking for more of a bad game. We're to that point, ladies and gentlemen, in the industry where there's so few games, especially for next-gen consoles, that we're literally begging for more of the worst dreck you could ever be subjected to in your ever-living life.
Well, no, please go on, Mr. Omega.
I was just going to say, I was always vocal about the whole game length debate because all of us grew up from the NES era going forward. We got to go and have our parents go to the store and buy games that can be beaten within a couple of minutes. fully and completely, assuming you know how and you're pretty fucking badass. Like, one of the coolest games on NES is Kung Fu. You can beat Kung Fu in like 2 minutes. And
but then you want to do it again.
yeah, but it's a fun game. I don't give a shit how long a game is. I understand I'm paying $60 for a game going in. I understand that 100%. If I, like, right there, I've got a fucking lollipop chainsaw cardboard cutout, and that game is only like 4 or 5 hours long. It's a pretty short game. I didn't give a shit because I had fun playing it. And then I went through and played it again. I've played plenty of short games. Shit, Rhapsody: A Musical Adventure is one of the shortest RPGs I can think of. You can clear it in about 8 hours. Didn't care because it was actually a good game. Who gives a fuck about game length so long as you're being entertained, since that's the entire foundation to a video game?
It's just weird. It's weird because the public consensus appears to be, oh, it's a pretty game, but it lasts 5 seconds, and it's just more of what you've been treated to in the last generation. And I'm like, what games in the last generation? It's like last generation. It's like somebody played Resident Evil 4 and it's like, oh, so this is the game that we're going to make. Like, basically, it's outdated, antiquated mechanics. I mean, just cutscenes out the ass, and I apologize for insulting implicitly Resident Evil 4 there, because Resident Evil 4 on its worst day is like 10 billion times the game Order 1886 is. But, I mean, it's just so antiquated, and then you get this kind of misnomer of, oh, it's so fucking beautiful. And it's like, did we play the same game? Because it seems like it's got ugly textures, and, like, I remember playing the fucking, you're in the warehouse, and you have to set the coffins on fire. There's all these vampires in a warehouse, and you have to set their coffins on fire to kill them. And, like, this flat, like, PS2 era fire texture comes flying out of the coffin, and what do the game developers do to make it look pretty? They slap a bunch of fucking bloom and lens flare on it, and they're like, that'll cover it up. And then people are like, 10 out of 10, best looking game I've ever seen in my life. You have glaucoma. You're crazy. That game is ugly at times, incredibly ugly actually. It's just they cover it in so much fog and dog shit that you don't realize it looks bad.
I don't know, fog and dog shit, but like I'd be fine with that if it was a new. Well, fog and dog shit actually. We were talking about some of the crappier Silent Hill games, so that's how we could go and sum those up.
What, Book of Memories?
You know, a Book of Memories on its own, if it didn't have the Silent Hill name, wasn't a terrible little dungeon crawler. But then we get to fucking Shattered Memories, which was like getting shattered dreams from Gold Dust, and you know, you feel like you have your fucking testicles up here, and you have fucking a hockey. You're getting fucking like 3 little Adam's apples going on. I was gonna say a hat trick. Yeah, that's it, because I know sports and shit. But it's just it's one of those things. Just the Order 1886. I want to give it a go. I just don't have the money to, because you know games cost money and I lack that. Oh.
Because you keep going to Portland. Kid Shoryuken, you seem like you wanted to weigh in on that. Did you have something to say?
You misjudged me, sir.
Oh, all right. Well, you know. Well, then if I could ask you for a favor, a solid favor, drink.
So.
There you go. There you go. You know, we got a great question right here, and I don't think I could phrase this better myself. The fine folks down in the comments section, oh, now it's gone. They asked, "Is Tim Schafer the Eric Bischoff of the video game industry?" And I don't know how to really weigh that out. Now I know that there's some people that are really upset with Mr. Tim Schafer, and I seen him with the sock puppet thing. And I didn't get it. Apparently he was making jokes that were funny to like the 6 or 7 assholes that think he's an interesting game designer. Alpha Omegason and Razorfist did some videos. Don't forget to check out those videos at their channels. You can find all that information down below and check them out, see what they're doing. Now, could you guys, I watched both of your videos and I appreciate it, but I don't understand why I should care. So I'm going to go to Alpha Omegason first and then Razorfist. Hopefully he'll back up what Mr. Omegason has to say. Alpha, help me out here.
I was going to say, Razorfist had his mouth open. I know that motherfucker wants to go. Do it.
Mr. Fist, do it.
Go right ahead, my man.
Okay. So the reason that people should care is here. We could actually just take everything that he fucking said completely out of the equation. We can talk about everything leading up to, because most people are under the false impression that it's based purely around the joke, and it's not just the joke. The joke was the cherry on the sundae. He aligned himself with Anita, what the fuck are you thinking, Sarkeesian? One of the things that essentially is a career killer as far as I'm concerned, because she essentially hates everything that's good in the world. She's like a fucking Disney villain. And not only does he align himself with her, but then goes into that 25 invisible benefits of being male while gaming video, and being a lobotomized and neutered fucking puppet himself, put himself in there for a whopping 20 seconds or so, which was enough for that entire image of him to be damned in my view. Then he goes on the Twitter and is trying to like put people in their place, which is even more fucking ridiculous. You know, oh well, you should all feel bad. You should actually understand that this is right and yada yada yada, and then gets put in his place by fucking JonTron. And he's only bothered by that because JonTron has a bunch of subscribers, and then the whole shit at the show, where he's basically saying that all the people that have ever been in support of Gamergate, and I'm not saying you even have to like Gamergate or know what it is or even support it, what he's saying is that a bunch of people that have been going against the grain being the Anita Sarkeesian fucking bandwagon of bullshit, that all the people that are against that don't exist outside of white males. That's what he was saying, and that's what pissed off a lot of people. I talked to a lot of women online all the fucking time, in person, that fucking hate her and everybody that is considered an associate of her, and then was saying that, you know, oh, clearly nobody outside of white, oh, I'm sorry, no Spanish people or Asian people or fucking Indian people or anything like that. No black people, nothing? Really? And it's just, it's fucking offensive to the fucking, like, to the senses. It just kills me. I'm like, fuck, man. Ugh.
Yeah. The reason why I found it offensive, and I went into this at length, is because it was just the improper forum for it. Period. It was the improper forum to have that kind of fucking debate, and it really lended to the overall perception of that entire day. You really have to have context for this fucking thing. That the industry is off in a high fucking ivory tower somewhere, just huffing its own farts, doesn't give a fuck about what consumers have to say, that they're just completely detached, utterly insulated from the process completely. That was like the culminating indignity on an entire day, an entire night that was nothing but confirming that perception, which is already rampant thanks to things like Gamergate, thanks to the sort of consumer revolt against video game journalism that's going on. Look, guys, video game journalism is corrupt, and we've obviously covered this fairly extensively on, you know, over the years on the 8-Bit podcast. But the fact of the matter is, it's an extension of the video game industry. It's only as corrupt as the industry it stems from. And I honestly think that is ultimately the problem I had with it, was that it wasn't the proper place to say it, and because it was put at the end of this long day that was just kind of, hey guys, we don't fucking get it, it really was the punctuation mark at the end of a great big long sentence that said, we're fucking retards.
It was out of place because the entire point to GDC, Game Developers Conference, guess what it's supposed to be about? Games and developing them. Holy shit, you wouldn't have fucking known that by all the backlash the entire show got.
And and what's the underpinning? Okay, what's the underpinning behind Gamergate? The idea is the gaming industry is elitist, and they're pricks, and they don't like their consumers. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to have an entire event that's exclusive to game developers, elitist by its very nature, and then we're going to cap that off with a joke at the consumer's expense. Fucking brilliant, masterful strategy right there, Napoleon. Genius stuff. Go ahead and invade Waterloo. Let's make that happen.
No, it's essentially, you're biting the hand that feeds you. You're taking a big shit on your entire fan base and consumer base, and keep in mind that regardless of what anybody has to say, whether you're a fan or you don't even know anything about Tim Schafer has been directly involved with some of the most important games in the industry. all the way leading up until current date, and that really is true. I'm a
he's
fan of
arguably the top adventure game developer out there. He is to adventure games what one of the more popular RPG developers. I'm trying to think of an RPG developer's name, and the only name that comes to mind is Stefan Molyneux, and that's not right.
Oh, that's terrible. Stop.
Peter Molyneux. Sorry, that's a YouTuber, but it's Peter Molyneux. But you know what? He's actually a very important kind of figurehead for an entire genre of gaming, and he's made some of the most important cornerstones in that entire genre. And yet now he's just completely jumped on the back. I don't know honestly, I don't know what considerations are constraining him, but I get the feeling like there's people in his life or something that are sort of pulling him in that direction. I don't know what exactly, because it would seem like at face value, this is a guy who listens to heavy metal, not exactly renowned for being the most politically correct genre in the world. He's made video games that are highly politically incorrect. I honestly think Anita Sarkeesian would personally object to much of the content in his actual video games. That's the worst part of it. I think the person he's supporting doesn't like what he does deep down, and that makes no fucking sense.
Not only does it make no sense, but it's I've said that I'm pretty sure he lost a bet. That's my only explanation for it, and I could be wrong, but I'm willing to go and wager a bet that he lost a bet, and that's why it's happening. But that doesn't help matters any. We're still being made out to be a bunch of fucking assholes, and I don't really like that. I'm a fan of a medium. And I'm being shit on for enjoying the medium for no reason at all, except for expecting people to not be to be dickheads.
And once again, you need the context, because where are we at in gaming right now? We're in the middle of a software drought. We don't have a lot of games to play on any consoles, so you're already going to be focusing outward because you don't have a lot of games to focus on. Bad timing all around, and then you're gonna openly attack the consumer like what happened back in August when Gamergate kind of all kicked off to begin with. It's just bad. It's the perfect storm. You do not need to be poking the fucking bear.
Well, not only that, it just seems like it's more of an insult because they're already putting the boots to an industry that's in a decline. This seems very much like the political barrage that seemed to attack the World Wrestling Federation in 1992 with Hulk Hogan's steroid allegations and so forth. So it just seems like it's they're in a fortunate position to just simply kick a dead horse.
I'd say the same thing to Tim Schafer that I've said to a lot of the women that have come into my life. I'm not paying you to talk.
That was so beautifully put. I honestly want to have that put onto some very expensive paper and framed. I enjoyed that. That made me pleased. Also, Trigun shirt. Somebody had noticed it earlier. Yes, it is Trigun. Trigun's awesome. Yeah.
And Kid Shoryuken with a very fantastic Guar t-shirt.
Yeah.
Mr.
And
Dave
Mr.
Baraki
Razorfist modeling
remembers.
a very nice Swedish wolf shirt. Very, very nice.
Yes,
of course.
not to be confused with the Japanese band.
Exactly. And also, don't forget my wearing of the official 8-Bit Podcast colors right here, as you can see on the right on this side here. Fabulous hand embroidered job. I just want to make sure, and they're available at 8bitpodcast.com. So
yes, his sweatshop workers labored mightily in a little bed.
And they knew not to complain about it. Goddammit.
Well worth.
We've been getting a number of questions here, just absolutely flooded with our thoughts about the upcoming WrestleMania 31. And we only talk about wrestling every so often on this program, but I think that because people want to know so badly, what are the thoughts about WrestleMania 31? I am of the mind, and we talked about this before the program, people want to know mostly about the Bray Wyatt versus The Undertaker thing, and I don't think The Undertaker's going to show. But, Mr. Omegason, you said that you've seen pictures of The Undertaker. Is that correct?
Indeed, do. His wife, on her Instagram, had posted pictures of Taker working out because a lot of people had, made note that he just, I don't know, didn't look like he was really giving a shit. Dude was pretty much just kind of relaxing, enjoying his life because he didn't have to be on such a strenuous fucking course all the time, 24 hours a day, like WWE wrestlers typically are. Their schedule is insane, but yeah, now the dude was God, he was lifting weights and boxing and shit, and he looked pretty jacked. I'm talking Dead Man Incorporated era jacked, because that's probably when he was like physically his biggest.
No, man, he was way bigger right before he left.
The Ministry of Darkness.
Dude.
I forgot about
he
that.
He looked like a dude. His traps were so big, he looked like a fucking manta ray.
Dude, that's one of the main things that I had noticed on, because I mean, Undertaker's always had big fucking arms. It's kind of impossible to be as big as him and not have big arms. But again, you saw that up here. He was rolling with no neck. Keep rolling. Let's bring back some horrible memories. But yeah, he looked like he's getting in shape, and I think the best thing that they can do right now, because it's set that Bray Wyatt has to earn, and he's calling out the Undertaker to come and get the urn and retrieve it on Raw. I think the longer that they go and play this out, because I think that this is like one of the better build-ups, and it's strange because it's a one-sided build-up. And you wouldn't think that would work, but Bray Wyatt's fantastic at cutting promos, and it's worked pretty well. And it makes me sad, because if there's anybody in the industry currently that's an active roster person outside of Kane, but I'm talking about young talent, that you're going to go and hand over the streak to, it fucking kills me that it was handed over to Brock Lesnar, who could give a fuck less, and not to somebody like Bray Wyatt, who is the next technical incarnation, if you will. I'm not saying he is the Undertaker, but you know.
And what was the logic? The logic was, it's going to establish Lesnar. And it's like, okay, well, I mean, I can't argue with the fact that Brock Lesnar's been depicted a lot better lately in terms of them, portraying him as a monster and unstoppable and so forth, and they definitely have played off the streak, but who's benefited from that? No one. Even whoever beats Brock Lesnar, I'm telling you, flat out, it's going to mean nothing. It's not going to, they're not going to have beaten the guy who beat the streak. It's just going to be, Brock Lesnar lost.
Like, they're going to beat the guy with the flat top that also has the tramp stamp. That's what they're going to defeat.
They're gonna beat the dude that also fell into the same hole Mark Marrow did.
They're gonna beat the dude who's 2 minutes.
You got to understand that when the streak was, WWE technically made the streak important, and I thought that that's something that the Undertaker should, one of two ways, should have retired with, because it was owed to him, or he should have had the option to hand it over to an up-and-coming person who was going to be in the business for at least a decade or more after that actual match. Somebody that could carry on the legacy. Brock Lesnar is going to be fucking out as soon as possible. As a matter of fact, right now, he technically wants out, but he's fearful of being sued out the ass because he signed a fucking contract, because he's trying to do a bunch of other shit, and there's a clause in the contract, and it's a bunch of fucking stupid drama. But the Bray Wyatt and Undertaker match, I think, could go really well. If you saw the match that he had with Dean, well, not match, but matches that he had with Dean Ambrose, they were pretty fucking good. And the main thing was they're both kind of nutty and just going after each other tooth and nail. They were some of the more violent matches they've had in a long time, and harken back to when we actually gave a shit about matches being more than just two dudes going in a ring with basic-ass names and doing something boring as fuck and then leaving with all of us flaccid.
Hey, you, let's fight. Them's fighting words.
Yeah, that shit fucking kills me. Well, what about this? What about Sting and Triple H?
What the fuck about Sting and
That is an effort.
Are you just
That
excited for the spectacle of middle age?
Look, Triple H. Yeah, look, Triple H is going to lose, but the bottom line in that match is, what does Sting get out of it? He gets a WrestleMania match, granted. That's the one thing he gets. But that's the one thing he gets. If he wins, great. Like, okay, he beat Triple H. You know what I mean?
He beat some old guy in a suit.
The only person that benefits is Triple H, because it's another implicit statement by Triple H, who, hey, by the way, is helping write the show, that he's on Sting's level, which, sorry, asshole, you're not. You're fucking dick rag.
Well, hold on a second, Mr. Phillips. I want to rebut this because this has been thrown in my lap every goddamn week since it was announced, and that's been like 12 to 15 weeks now. People think, what do I think about, the Triple H versus Sting thing? I've never once believed that Sting ever had the X factor that is spoken of, the X factor that was possessed by the Macho Man Randy Savage, Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair, Big Van Vader. I never saw him as having it. So I don't understand. The only thing that is really over in this is a man wearing makeup reminiscent of Brandon Lee circa 1995. I do not understand this, and no, I might come off...
I think you're wrong. I think you're wrong because he was over even before the Brandon Lee makeup. He was over with the Ultimate Warrior makeup. I don't deny that. I'm not denying that he was over. I'm not going to take that away from you. You're very much right. He was over. But let's face it. He was over in World Championship Wrestling, which was a subsidiary of Turner Home Video. Okay? If you can't get over with those people, then, these are the people that watch tractor pulls. Come on. They watch the Andy Griffith Show and the Atlanta Braves and Sting. Okay, I don't want to berate those people, but that's what it is. This is not major league sports entertainment. Now, I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of hate for that. The hallmark, no, look, the hallmark of Sting's popularity is that he was one of probably only 2 wrestlers in the entirety of World Championship Wrestling that managed to have anything resembling mainstream appeal.
Yeah.
He had movies.
I can't argue with that.
I mean, he had guest appearances in movies, and he had his own movies, and of course, Ready to Rumble.
Please don't talk about his
cinematic masterpiece. But I mean, he actually got out there, and he was, in society. He definitely was a marketable face in WCW. Him and Goldberg for a minute and a half was that big.
Goldberg before Kevin Nash and a bunch of other people decided that they needed to call the shots.
Yeah.
And Goldberg had a great build-up, and then they just...
Yeah.
Well, if they always said that the slogan at World Championship Wrestling was that where the big boys play. I really think their slogan should have been. These are the people that booked RoboCop. All right, I want to make that painstakingly obvious.
Hold on. Whoever booked RoboCop, I want to buy him a $10 beer. That was amazing, and no one can ever gainsay me on that one.
And the best part about it is, and you know what, Yo Chaos is sitting there, he's talking shit on Sting, but you know what, Sting came out there, he got put into a fucking cage, and then RoboCop saved him, and then it was Sting and RoboCop. You know who teams up with RoboCop? Bad motherfuckers.
That's true.
Although
it does not quite be the Undertaker Chuck Norris team up in the mid '90s. It does not quite trump that because nothing will.
And by the way, what was the name of that Chuck Norris movie you just did a review of recently?
The Hitman.
Yes. Everybody, you should go watch that review. I think that Razorfist needs to do more movie reviews, but he's a fucking cunt and does them every so often. So you should go watch that because it is fucking fantastic and hilarious, and the movie itself is also fantastic and hilarious.
Dude, mullet, shotgun, trench coat. Done and done.
You know what? I want him to don that entire look again whenever he's doing what is it, those Bowflex commercials or whatever. I want him to look like that, and then when everybody comes on and asks him, well, how easy is it for him to use? He just shoots them with a shotgun and then steps on their fucking dead corpse, and he just says some one-liners. I'm like, fuck yeah, I'll buy anything. He can be like, I'm gonna sell you a fucking dirty styrofoam plate of dog shit. I'm like, I'll buy it. I'll buy it for $1.
It's just that easy.
Except
but yeah,
WrestleMania
31.
Life to Christ. Oh my goodness! It's
Christ was a ginger.
Chaos. What the fuck are you drinking? I was meaning to ask you that.
Oh, as I mentioned already, this is our mystery partner, Johnny Walker Black Label.
I'm drinking Great Value Water because I shop at Walmart.
Because you support the Walmart monolith, is that correct?
No, it's because I like to shop at 3 in the morning when nobody's awake, so people don't come near me because I'm like, ugh.
Don't tell me that people aren't awake. You know them fucking nasty bitches that go to Walmart at 3 o'clock in the morning are there.
Well, we don't need to talk about my sex life now. Jeez.
Oh.
Now you're just giving away all the secrets. I'm just like, damn.
Look at all these mysterious children coming out of Portland and so forth. Kid Shoryuken, what do you have in the drink?
Excuse me. I am drinking Kirin Ichiban, 100% genuine malts.
And Razor Fist...
Razor Fist only drinks kitten tears.
I was going to say, Razor Fist is drinking the tears of many people that he's went and put in their place, because they're like, crying to win waterfalls. And he's like, yes.
Oh, okay, so what you're saying is Zima, then. Gotcha.
Oh, no. He really meant Michelob Ultra.
I know, low-hanging fruit, but come on.
Zima's very bad. Very, very bad. Holy fuck! I don't know how that product was big for like a year and a half, and I don't know how.
It's a slick design.
It was the '90s. Everything. I mean, we made Limp Bizkit famous at the time. Come on.
Yeah.
Hey! What's this wee shit? I was over there protesting. Like, no! I want the nookie out of my neighborhood now.
You know what? Chaos? You just gotta keep on rolling, baby. You know what time it is.
We were walking around in Jinko jeans the size of denim parachutes. We were listening to Limp Bizkit and Korn. We were out of our minds.
Hey, Jinko jeans. Jinko jeans are coming back too. Aren't you guys happy?
I heard about that. Jinko jeans making a comeback. Hopefully the I just got arrested T-shirts will come back too. You know, with the stripy things across.
I know Razor Fist is excited about Jinko jeans. As a matter of fact, that's currently right now on his everything I must buy list is Jinko jeans.
We're getting a lot of questions here. A lot of people want to know our thoughts on WWF's NXT. I have not been watching. I've seen a little bit of it, and it reminds me of indie wrestling with way too much money. And it also gave us Daniel Bryan, for better or for worse. Mr. Fist, do you have any feelings about NXT?
I've tried to watch it a number of times. It seems like it's tailor-made for internet smarks that just want to fucking rate matches with stars and shit. That's what it strikes me as. I wasn't interested in it. The storylines weren't fucking interesting. The characters weren't interesting. I'll say this: it's a marginal improvement over Raw, but I mean, what the fuck?
I think that's really the major failing, is when they now have the minor league program is starting to outshine the big time program. That is a serious problem.
Look, on a regular basis, NXT is eminently more watchable than Raw, but that isn't saying much. Watching an old woman sew in the middle of the ring would be more watchable than fucking Raw today.
Hey, don't you talk that way about Jim Neidhart's daughter.
Well,
what were you saying?
I was going to say, if you guys had seen, there's Adrian Neville, Finn Balor. Finn Balor is the one with the really awesome makeup, by the way, if anybody's wondering, because that's usually how most people end up recognizing him. Sami Zayn. Those guys are amazing in the ring. As a matter of fact, their women's division, Ric Flair's daughter, for some reason her fucking name is escaping me at the moment, but
Charlotte.
Yes, she's a bad motherfucker. As a matter of fact, their women's division is exactly what I think that the WWE's women's division should be, and I'm going to go on record and say this a million fucking times over. I loathe the Divas division. I loathe the Divas belt. I hate the title. Divas, the actual name Diva, stopped being relevant and cool back in the fucking 60s.
I don't know if they know this, but like Diva describes Miss Piggy.
A diva used to be badass back in the day in the music industry. Now it describes some fucking uppity bitch with way too much money, way too much fucking sass that needs to get knocked the fuck out by a fucking chick that actually is a bad motherfucker. And that's why it kills me, because you take the likes of somebody such as Paige and you move her from NXT to up to the main roster and you think, oh, that's an improvement, an upgrade. No, because their fucking women's matches are like 2 minutes long. And then you have somebody like Finn Balor, who has one of the coolest fucking entrances, some of the most badass matches. You put him on the main roster, you'd end up having him going and jobbing to the likes of fucking John Cena. I want NXT to become a completely separate entity, like all together, because better storylines, better production, in my opinion, because it's not 3 hours with tons of fucking fluff. They're
And
not
not to mention a shit ton of ads.
Yeah, you know what? I'm actually fine with all the fucking commercials and shit, but the thing is, they added an extra hour to a 2-hour telecast and only added 15 extra minutes of content. The rest of it is them telling you about the fucking WWE app, the WWE network, and a bunch of fucking close-ups of Michael Cole, and I swear to fucking God, every time Michael Cole comes on my screen, I want to punch a fucking hole through it, because that asshole cannot fucking do a goddamn thing right on commentary. He's horrible. What a maneuver! That fucking jackal doesn't even know what the fucking moves are. What a maneuver! I want to fucking punch him right in his taint with his own taint. Like, literally, cut the fucking thing in half, put it on my fucking knuckles, and just fucking go and elbow.
You want to punch him in the taint with your taintception, you're saying?
Yes. If I've got to go and fucking get scientists to clone Michael Cole, which is essentially the second fucking coming, if I have to do that just to get another taint to punch him in a taint with, I will fucking do such, just so I can fucking have the liberty of it. Ugh.
Oh, well, at least he's got a future selling Viagra, so, you know.
I'd say I fully side with you when you talk about Finn Balor, just because I used to watch quite a bit of NJPW when he was still wrestling as Prince Devitt. The dude speaks almost no Japanese, so there are no real promos or anything to point to, but his in-ring work was just like so awesome that he made a name for himself. So I really do enjoy watching.
Oh, dude, you know what? A lot of the people that got picked up, like recently they picked up Kevin Owens, and they've been pushing him as like a big monster heel, and it's worked well for him. And the thing that I can actually say, everybody can shit on Triple H, but Triple H is responsible for NXT, the entire thing. And I'll give the dude a lot of fucking credit that he's actually been making a show that's been catering to a lot of the interests, wants, and needs of the hardcore wrestling fans, not sports entertainment fans, but actual legitimately 100% respect the fucking craft wrestling fans, and I fucking enjoy it.
There are no sports entertainment fans. That would be like saying that Sha Na Na had fans.
If you asked Vince McMahon, that motherfucker would lose his goddamn mind, go into fucking cardiac arrest, come back, and then be like, fired! And then hire you just so that he can actually make it official.
Yeah, but here's the thing that I don't... Okay. Everybody was freaking out after the Royal Rumble because of fucking Roman Reigns, right?
Yep.
Because of the fucking ending to that Rumble. And I agree, it was a piece of shit. It was a terrible ending. But everybody gave Triple H a pass on that. Like he had nothing to do with it. Everybody was like, Vince McMahon's out of touch, fire Vince McMahon. No, scuttlebutt backstage was Vince McMahon hates Roman Reigns' guts. It was Triple H who fucking pulled the trigger on that. I don't think necessarily, like, I think he probably... Most likely, Triple H just has two pretty good writers on NXT, and that's what happens. I really don't think Triple H has much to do with it. I think he oversees it, and in that sense, he's responsible for it. But I don't think everything good about fucking NXT is all Triple H. I think he takes the credit, quite frankly. I think it's kind of like when Vince Russo and fucking Ed Ferrara were writing Raw, and Vince McMahon took all the credit and was like doing interviews saying Shane McMahon writes the show and shit like that. Like, that's totally fucked up. But I honestly think that's more what it is. And people give Triple H the credit for it while conveniently ignoring that he completely fucked up the Rumble and he's about to fuck up WrestleMania.
Well, not only that, I think it's interesting that people give him all the credit for NXT when, in fact, if there were a system in place like NXT, like there is today, that dude would have never fucking made it to the main roster. Ever. And we would not have the problems we have today.
I still just find it sad that like the main roster right now is nightmarish. I hate the fact that they keep on relegating all the wrestlers that go into the main roster.
Someone pointed out, and actually I had heard that before, I had just forgotten, Dusty Rhodes is the booker on NXT, and that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, because it kind of looks like wrestling.
Yeah, the way that it should look, it just... I don't know. I hate that we have main event matches with guys that are obviously very talented. Everybody knows that they're talented, but once you go up to main roster, they specifically court you and they're like, okay, here's what you're going to do. You are going to use this moveset, and you have to constantly use this moveset all the time so that fans become familiarized with it, because you don't want to go and do too many things that are high risk or anything like that. And you can't change things up because then they get confused. And I hate the idea that they have all these different terms that you can't say on mic. I hate the fact that there's tons of moves that you can't do. I hate the fact that, you know, the wrestlers are essentially in a fucking stranglehold, if you will, as far as their performance goes. And it's stupid. You know, when you let them off the chain how they were fucking well over a decade ago, things were a lot better. Now, it's kind of fucking stupid. Just kind of stupid. But I wonder if everybody. Do I comb my beard? Of course I comb my beard. Gotta comb a beard like this. If not, it just becomes a fucking a weird nest, and then suddenly birds.
And then you look like Daniel Bryan.
Yeah, birds start poking through like this. They're like, caw, and they start eating everything out of my hand before it reaches my mouth. So yeah.
And more beard care tips from your main man, Alpha Omega Sin. Anyway, folks. That's it for our program. That's the end of Pissing in the Live Stream number 6. We thank you for joining us. We hope you had a great time. We want to remind each and every one of you to join us for Pissing in the Live Stream number 7, Friday, April the 3rd. We hope to see each and every one of you there. We hope you had a great time. I want to remind you that you guys are great. I am the Mighty LKS. Joining me was Kid Shoryuken.
Oh my God, it's been so fun. I was so happy to be here.
The relentless Razor Fist.
I wasn't getting faced like everyone else. I guess I'm the odd man out, but God fucking speed all the same, folks.
And the unstoppable Alpha Omega Sin.
I wasn't getting shit-faced either, but there's a little version of me. Yeah, brought to you by Alpha Omega Sin figure statue thing. I don't know.
I forgot to mention that. This program was brought to you by the Alpha Omega Sin figure. And if you'd like
the same sweatshop that makes your 8-Bit podcast patches also makes this apparently.
One and the same. It's, you know, we're really consolidating our efforts here on the 8-Bit podcast. So, you guys are great. Thank you very much for joining us. Don't forget to check out all that information. Give us a sub. Check us out on the Twitter and on all your social media. We thank you very much. You guys are great. Take care of yourselves and take care of each other, and we'll see you next time right here on the 8-Bit podcast.
Like that you put